Chapter 1. The Music That Made Me. Music was here long before I thought I was. I don't remember deciding to become a musician. There was no moment of declaring that this would be my life. Music was there prior to any decision, long before I thought about any direction. Some of my earliest memories of that quiet pull came not from the flute, but from water. As a boy, I would spend most of my spare time fishing beside rivers and streams, and sometimes by still lakes, where very little seemed to move. I remember the sound of the current clearly, the way it folded over the stones, the light trembling on the surface. I didn't think of this as listening, it was simply being there. The usual sense of being someone doing something would ease into the background. There was just water moving, the quiet weight of the rod in my hands. Only later did I realize how much those hours shaped me. At the time there were no ideas about it, just attention without effort. When music entered my life more formally, it felt familiar in a way I could not explain. A note would rise and fall like a ripple. Silence would gather again, just as the surface of the water settles back into stillness. When I began working more seriously with the flute, I assumed that any improvement would feel like success. But the best moments didn't feel like success at all. They felt quieter than that. Something would open, and I would forget myself for a while. As the years passed, music became more than fascination. It became work. It became something I called myself. I learned to introduce myself in certain ways. I'm a musician. I'm a composer. Those words carried weight. They opened doors. They created expectations. And I stepped into that role willingly. There was real joy in the craft. The long hours shaping sound, the strange intimacy of playing, where something formed in a quiet room could travel out and meet people I would never know. Yet even then, something in the background remained unchanged. A quiet sense that music didn't quite belong to me in the way I sometimes claimed it did. More like I was part of the current than directing it. I didn't think of this as spiritual. It was simply how it felt. Only much later did I begin to wonder about the space from which music arises. What is here before the first note? What remains after the last one fades? At the time, those questions were not clearly formed. They were more like a subtle stirring. Something felt rather than understood. Looking back, I can see that music was doing something more than building a life. It was gently loosening my certainty about who that life belonged to. And perhaps that loosening had already begun years earlier, beside the river, long before I ever thought of myself as a musician.